Welcome to Thrilling Tales of Adventure. I'm Mardell, reading Black Bartlemys' Treasure by Jeffery Farnol. Chapter 44. How I Had Speech with Roger Tressady to My Undoing. For maybe a full minute, we fronted each other unmoving, and with never a word, and thus at last I beheld this man Tressady. A tall, lusty fellow, square of face, and with pale eyes beneath a jut of shaggy brow. A vivid neckerchief was twisted about his head, and in his hairy ears swung great gold rings. His powerful right hand was clenched to knotted fist. In place of his left glittered the deadly hook. "Sink me," says he at last, drawing clenched fists across his brow. "Sink me, but ye gave me a turn, my lord. Took ye for a ghost, I did, the ghost of a shipmate of mine, one as do lie buried yonder, naught but poor bones, rotten bones, as this will be soon." Here he spurned the dead man with his foot. "'Tis black rogue this, my lord, one as would have made worms meat of poor Tressady. A lump of murdered clay, like my shipmate Bartlemy yonder, but for this silver woman of mine." Here he stooped for the dagger, and having cleaned it in the sand, held it towards me upon his open palm. Here's a woman hath never failed me yet. She's faithful and true, friend, faithful and true, this silver woman of mine, but 'tis an ill world, my master, and full of bloody rogues like this sly dog as stole ashore to murder me, and the fool. Oh, 'tis a black and bloody world." "So it is," quoth I, twixt shut teeth, "and all the worse for the likes of you, Roger Tressady." "So-ho! He knoweth my name, then," says Tressady, rubbing shaven chin with silver dagger hilt, and viewing me with his pale, keen gaze. "But do I know him now? Do I?" "I know you for pirate and damned murderer, Roger Tressady. So shall you quit this island this very hour, or stay here to rot along with Bartlemy and Red Andy." Now, at this, and all careless of my pistol, he drew a slow pace nearer, great head outthrust peering. "Why," says he at last, "why, believe me, if it aren't I, 'tis Martin. Why, for sure, 'tis my bonnet Marty has saved my skin time and again aboard the Faithful Friend, though you go mighty fine, lad, mighty fine. But good luck to ye and a fair wind, say I." And thrusting the dagger into his girdle, he nodded, mighty affable. "But look ye now, Marty, here's me wishing ye well, and you with a barker in your fist. 'Tis no fashion to greet a shipmate, I'm thinking." "Enough words," says I, stepping up to him. "Do you go alive or stay here dead? Which?" "Split me," says he, never stirring, "but 'tis small choice you offer, Marty." "My name's Martin, and a cursed good name, too, Marty, but I've no mind to be worm's meat yet a while, no. Come, what's your quarrel with me? First Andy would murder me, now 'tis you. Why for? Here's me with a heart of gold to cherish a friend, and never a friend to cherish. What's your quarrel, lad, what?" "Quarrel enough. What with your drugging me and murder aboard ship?" "Vast, lad, here's unchancy talk, ill and unmannered." "You murdered divers men aboard the Faithful Friend." "Only 3, Marty, only 3, poor souls, though yours is a foul word for it. I took 'em off, lad. Took 'em off as a matter of policy. I've never took off any yet, as I wasn't forced to by circumstances. Now look'ee, there's men in this world born to be took off by someone or other. They always come a-drifting across my hawse and get took off accordingly. But don't blame me, lad, don't. And as for a drugging of you, Marty, true again, but love me, what was I to do? But I didn't take you off, lad, no, nor never shall, unless you and policy forced me to do so. I'm no murderer born like Adam, curse him. Clap me alongside Adam, I'm a turtle dove, a babe for innocence, a lamb for meekness. There never was such a murderer born into this wicked world as Adam Penfeather, with a curse. 'Twas he as murdered Black Bartlemy and 9 sweet bright lads after him, murdered 'em here, one by one, and wi' a parchment rove about the neck of each poor corpse, Marty. 'Twas he as drove their mates out to sea to perish in a leaky boat. Ask Abnegation Mings. 'Twas him nigh murdered me more than once. Aye, me, lad, as can't be killed. According to the prophecy of the poor mad soul aboard the Old Delight, why, Adam, curse him, has murdered more men than you have years. And talking of him, how cometh it you are blown to hell along with him and the rest? Do you tell me Adam is dead? Blown up aboard the Faithful Friend, lad. Just after we run her aboard and grappled, blew up, she did, and nigh took us with her. Adam's dead at last. Curse him. Unless he can't be killed either, unless he is. And all at once he turned to stare away across Deliverance, then shrinking, cowered towards me as in sudden terror, stabbing at the empty air with his glittering hook. What's yon? Cried he in awful voice, and I, turning whither his glaring eyes stared, and half dreading to behold my lady, had the pistol wrenched from my hold and the muzzle under my ear all in a moment, and stood scowling and defenceless, like the vast fool I was. Split me, says he, tapping me gently with his hook. Blind me, if I thought you such a lubberly fool. So old a trick, Marty. Now, look'ee, were I a murderer and loved it like Adam, curse him, I should pull trigger. But being Roger Tressady with a heart of gold, I say, sit down, lad, sit down and let us talk, friend, let us talk now. Come, sit down. Never mind Andy, he shan't trouble us. So with the pistol at my ear we sat down side by side, and the dead man sprawling at our feet. Now first, Marty lad, how come ye here alone on Bartlemys Island? How? But sitting thus, chin on fist, I stared down at Red Andy's stiffening body, silent as he, I being too full of fierce anger and bitter scorn of my folly for speech. Come, come, Marty, be sociable, says Tressady, tapping my cheek with the pistol muzzle. Was it Penfeather sent ye hither to give an eye to, the treasure? Was he? Aye. 'Twould be the night he made the crew drunk and spoiled my plans. Just like him. A cunning rogue, but for this I'd have had the ship and him and the treasure. Right cunning, fierce rogue was Adam, and none to match him but me. But he nearly did for you once, says I bitterly, and he such a small, timid man. Look'ee, Martin, when Adam grows timid, 'tis time for your bold desperate fellows to beware. But he's dead at last, though I'd have felt more comfort. I'd have took it kinder, had he been took off by my silver woman. Or this, here he thrust his hook before my eyes. It ain't a pretty thing, Martin. Not pretty, no. But 'tis useful at all times, and serves to shepherd my lambs with now and then. 'Tis likewise a mighty persuading argument, but, and best of all, 'tis sure, lad, sure. So I'd have took it kinder had I watched him go off on this, lad, this. My hook for my enemies, and for my friends a heart of gold. And talking of gold, Marty, what a Bartlemys treasure. You are happily welcome to it for all of me. Why, that's spoken manly, and like a friend, rot me, but it is. And now, where might it lie, Marty? Where? I've no idea. What, you hain't found it, lad? No, not even seen it, then? No. Oh, why, think of that now, think of that, and you with a fortune of pearls on you, Marty. These pearls, studs and buttons, lad, pearls. Ah, pearls was meat and drink to Bartlemy. And here's you, with pearls I've seen on Bartlemy many a time. And yet you hain't found the treasure, says you. If I was a passionate man, Marty, I should call you liar, says I. Howsoever, what I do say is, as you forgot, and very right and proper, but we am friends, you and me, so far, and so twixt friends. Now I ask you to think again until you remember, and to think hard, lad, hard. Now as I sat, and miserably enough, staring down at my jeweled buttons that seemed to leer up at me like so many small malevolent eyes, upon the air grow a distant stir, that grew and grew to sound of voices, with the creak and rumble of oars. Here come my lambs at last, Marty, and among 'em some of the lads as sailed with Bartlemy aboard the Delight. There's Sam Spraggins, for one. Smilin' Sam, as you'll mind, aboard the Faithful Friend. Now the smiler knoweth many and divers methods of persuasion, Marty lad. Tricks learned of the Indians, as shall persuade a man to anything in this world. But first, seeing 'tis you, Martin, as played bonnet to me and saved my life aboard ship, though all unknowing, here's my offer. Show me how to come by Bartlemy's treasure, as is mine by rights. Let me get my hands on to it, and none the wiser. And there shall be share for you, Marty lad, share for you. Otherwise I must let Sam try to persuade you to remember where it lieth. Come, what do you say? What, you'll torture me then? If I must, friend, if I must, 'tis for you to say. Why, then 'twill be labor in vain, Tressady, for I swear I know naught of this treasure. Sit still, lad, sit still, says he, clapping the pistol to my ear again. Though a fool in many ways, Marty, you're proper enough man to look at. 'Twill be a pity to cripple ye. Aye, there won't be much left when Sam is done with you, more's the pity. Hereupon he hailed loudly, and was answered from the lagoon. And glancing thither, I saw 2 boats crowded with men pulling for the beach. A wildish company, Martin, desperate fellows as ever rode the main, as I do love no more than they love me. So say the word, and we'll share Black Bartlemy's treasure betwixt us. Just you and me, lad, me and you. Come, what's your will? But shaking my head, and hopelessly enough, I set my teeth, and watched the coming of my tormentors. And foremost was a short, plump, bright-eyed man who lacked an ear, and at his elbows 2 others, the one a lank rogue with a patch over one eye, the third a tall, hairy fellow. And observing them as they came, I knew them for the same 3 rogues I had fought with in the hedge tavern beside Pembury Hill on that night I had first seen my dear lady. Hard upon their heels came a riotous company, variously armed and accoutred, who forthwith thronged upon me, pushing and jostling for sight of me, desecrating the quiet night with their hoarse and clamorous ribaldry. Unlovely fellows indeed, and clad in garments of every shape and cut, from stained homespun and tattered shirts to velvet coats belaced and gold braided. And beholding this tarnished and sordid finery, these clothes looted from sinking ships and blazing towns, I wondered vaguely what had become of their late owners. At gesture from Tressady, I was dragged to my feet, and my arms jerked, twisted, and bound before me crosswise. And so stood I helpless and in much pain, discomfort, whilst Tressady harangued his fellows, tapping me gently with his hook. "Look'ee, my bullies," quoth he, "I promised ye gold a-plenty, and here somewhere on this island it lieth waiting to be found. It needeth but for this fool, Martin here, as some of you will mind for Adam Penfeather's comrade, with a curse, it needeth be but for him to speak, I say, and in that same hour each one of you may fill your clutch with more treasure than ever came out of El Dorado or Manoa. So speak he must and shall. Eh, bullies, eh?" "Hoy, hoy, Captain!" they roared, pressing upon me with shaking of fists and glitter of eager steel. "Twist his thumbs, Captain!" cried one. "Slit his nose!" roared another. "Trim his ears!" cried a third. But Tressady silenced them with a flourish of his hook. "Harkee, lads," says he, "y'all mean well, but you're bunglers. Here's a little delicate matter as none can handle, like the smiler. There's none like Sam can make a man give tongue. Pass the word for Smiling Sam. Step forward, Sammy." Here cometh the great fat fellow Spraggins, who had been boatswain's mate aboard the Faithful Friend, forcing his way with vicious elbows and mighty anxious to come at me. "I love my limbs," says he in his high-pitched voice and blinking his hairless lids at me. "I cherish my guts. Leave him to me, Cap'n. Sam's the lad to make this yere cock crow. See now, a good sharp knife, neath the finger or toenails drew slow, mate, slow. Or a hot iron close again his eyes is good. Or boiling water poured in his ears might serve. Then, aha, Cap'n, I know a dainty little trick. A small cord, d'ye see, twisted athwart his head just below the brows, twisted and twisted, as shall start his eyes right out pretty to behold. I mind, too, as long days had a trick of bursting a man's guts with water." "Bring him to the beach yonder," says Tressady, watching me ever with his pale eyes. "There shall be more room for it yonder." So they haled me along betwixt them, and with huge merriment. But scarce were we out of the cove and hard beside Bartlemys tree, than I started to the vicious prick of a knife, and whirling about despite the fierce hands that sought to hold me, I saw Smiling Sam about to stab me again. But now, as I strove with my reeling captors, was a flicker of vicious steel, as Tressady sprang, and whipping his hook beneath a great fellow's belt, whirled Smiling Sam from his feet despite his prodigious weight, and forthwith trampled upon him. "So ho, my merry lad," quoth Tressady, glaring down into Smiling Sam's convulsed face. "And must you be at it afore I give the word? Who's captain here? Who? Come, speak up, my roaring boy," and he thrust his hook beneath the Smiler's great flabby chin. "Mercy, Captain, mercy!" cried Spraggins, his high-pitched voice rising to a pitiful squeal. "Not the hook, Captain! Oh, Lord love me, not the hook!" "Hook? And why not, Sam, why not? 'Tis sharp and clean and quick, and hath done the business of nicer rogues than you, bully. Ha, and better, Sam, better." "Oh, Captain, for God's sake!" "Who are you to call on God so glib, Sammy? 'Tis marvel he don't strike you blind, lad. Or there's your innards, Sam. Here's that may whip out your liver, lad. So!" I saw the glitter of the hook, heard Smiling Sam's gasping scream as the steel bit into him. And then Tressady was on his feet, smiling round upon his awed and silent company. "Look'ee, bullies," says he, pointing to the Smiler's inanimate form. "Here's poor Sam all swoonded away at touch of my hook like any woman. And him my bo'sun. Ha! I want a man." Here he stooped and, wrenching the silver pipe from Smiling Sam's fat throat, stared from one shuffling rogue to another. "Step forward, Abner," says he at last. "Come, you'll do. You're a prime sailor man. You're my bo'sun henceforth." But now Smiling Sam, awakening from his swoon, moaned feebly and sat up. "Not the hook, Cap'n," he wailed. "Oh, not that." "No, Smiler, no. I keep it for better men. Disobey me again, and I'll drown ye in a puddle. And now up with you, Sammy, up with you, and stand by to teach Martin here how to talk." "Aye, aye, Cap'n, aye, aye," says the gross fellow, rising nimbly enough, whilst his comrades closed about us expectant, and glancing from me to Tressady, where he had seated himself on a boulder. "Here will do," says he, pointing to a brilliant strip of moonlight in midway betwixt the shadows of the cliff and Bartlemys tree. "On his back, hearties, and grapple him fast. He's strong, well nigh as I am. Now his hand, Smiler, his right hand." "Aye, aye, Cap'n," quoth the fellow, kneeling above me where I lay helpless. "Will I cut it adrift? Slow-like?" And as he flourished his knife, I saw a trickle of saliva at the corners of his great loose mouth. "Off at the wrist, Cap'n, or fingers first?" "No, fool! His thumbnail first. Try that." Sweating and with every nerve a-quiver, I watched that cruel knife, holding my breath in expectation of the coming agony, and then from the black gloom of the cliff beyond burst a sudden echoing roar. I heard the whine of a bullet, and immediately all was confusion and uproar, shouts of dismay, a wild rush for shelter from this sudden attack. But as I struggled to my knees, Tressady's great hand gripped my throat, and dragging me behind a boulder, he pinned me there. "Stand by, lads," he roared. "Level at the cliff yonder, but let no man pull trigger. Wait till they fire again, and mark the flash." Helpless in my bonds and crushed beneath Tressady's knee, I heard a stir and rustle to the right and left of me, the click of cocking triggers, and thereafter silence. And marking the gleam of pistol and musket barrel, I fell to an agony of dread, well knowing whence that merciful shot had come. For mayhap 5 minutes naught was to hear, save the rustle of stealthy arm or leg and the sound of heavy breathing, until at length one spoke loud-voiced. "What now, Cap'n? Must can't bide here all night." "How many are we, Purdy?" 30 and 9, Cap'n." "Then do you take 10 and scale the starboard cliff. You, Abner, with the other 10, take the cliff to larboard. I'll bide here with the rest, and so we'll have 'em." "Them cliffs be perilous high, Cap'n." "My hook is more perilous, Tom Day. Off with you, you dogs, or I'll show you how a liver yet can be." He stopped all at once, as faint at first, and yet most dreadful to hear. There rose a man's cry, chilling the flesh with horror, a cry that waxed and swelled louder and louder to hideous screaming that shrilled upon the night, and sinking to an awful bubbling murmur, was gone. Up sprang Tressady to stare away across Deliverance, whence this dreadful cry had come, and I saw his hook tap-tapping at his great chin. Then beyond these shining sands was the thunderous roar of a great gun, a furious rattle of small arms that echoed and re-echoed near and far, and thereafter single shots in rapid succession. Hereupon rose shouts and cries of dismay. Lord love us, we beset. Oh, Captain, we be took afore and aft. What shall us do, Captain? Yon was a gun. What of the ship, Captain? What of the ship? Yonder, look yonder, who comes? Cried Tressady, pointing toward Deliverance Beach with his glittering hook. Twisting my head as I lay, I looked whither he pointed, and saw one that ran towards us, yet in mighty strange fashion, reeling in wide zigzags like a drunken man. And sometimes he checked only to come on again, and sometimes he fell only to struggle up. By God, it's abnegation, cries Tressady. 'Tis my comrade Mings. Look to the prisoner, ye dogs. Yon Tom Purdy. I'm for abnegation. And off he went at a run. At his going was mighty talk and discussion, what they should do, some men being for stealing away in the boats, others for taking to the woods, and all clean forgetting me where I lay. But suddenly they fell silent, for abnegation was hailing feebly, and was come so nigh that we might see him, his face all bloody, his knees bending under him with weakness as he stumbled on. Suddenly, beholding Tressady, he stopped and hailed him in wild, gasping voice. Roger, oh, Roger, the devil's aboard us, Roger. Penfeather's on us. Penfeather's took the ship. I'm all that's left alive. They killed Saul first. Did you hear him die, Roger? Ah, did you hear? I saw him fall and Tressady run to lift him, and watched these pirate rogues as with oaths and cries of dismay they hasted hither to throng about the two. Then rolling into the nearest shadow, I struggled to my feet, and found myself beneath the spreading branches of Bartlemys' tree. And now as I strove desperately against the rope that bit into the flesh of me, I felt the rope fall away, felt two soft arms close about me, and a soft breath on my cheek. Martin, oh, thank God. Turning, I caught my dear brave lady to my heart. Heedless of aught else in the world beside, I clasped her in my aching arms and kissed her until she stayed me, and showing me where stood our enemies, a wild, disordered company, took my hand and began to run. Reaching the cliff, we climbed together, nor stayed until she had brought me to a little cave, where lay an arquebus together with bandoliers. I tried to reload it, dear Martin, but 'twas vain. My poor silly hands shook so, for, oh, my dear, I heard them, saw them, and thought I should run mad. Oh, Martin, my love. So now, whilst I loaded the arquebus, I told her, as well I might, something of what I thought concerning her brave spirit, of my undying love for her, though in fashion very lame and halting. Thereafter, the weapon being ready, I placed it near, and sitting within the gloom of this little cave, I took my love into my arms, her dear head pillowed on my breast, and kissed the tremors from her sweet mouth, and the horror from her eyes, and thus, with her arms about my neck, and her soft, smooth cheek against mine, we waited for what was to be. Please join me next week for another exciting chapter of Black Bartlemy's Treasure by Jeffery Farnol on Thrilling Tales of Adventure.